Well, hey, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Cy Huffer and Friends. This is a podcast designed to help you flourish at life and relationships. I'm your host, Cy Huffer. I'm the lead pastor at the Gathering Christian Church in Naples, Florida. And if you follow along at all, or you know anything about this, or if this is your first time on our podcast, the way this works is I believe I have the best friends in the whole world. Okay. And they help me flourish at life and relationships. And so I think me sharing them with you will help you flourish in those areas as well. So you can always follow at Apple, Spotify, or YouTube. We also have an Instagram account. You can follow there, see the new episodes that drop each and every Thursday. Once a month, we take a break from just the different topics that we talk about. And I have someone from our church get to share a little bit of their story and their testimony about how God's moved in their life. And we call these stories For the One stories. It comes straight from Luke 15 when Jesus talked about the lost sheep, the lost coin, the lost son. And there's this beautiful picture of this shepherd having 100 sheep and one of them wandering off. And that the good shepherd, doesn't he go seeking after that one to bring it back home, leaving the 99 in the open field to go get that one. And so we as a church, we believe that we exist for the one. We want to help find the one, reach the one, bless the one, and help that one find that made for more life in Jesus. And so today I get to interview and share the story of my wonderful friend, Rachel Buono. So Rachel, tell everyone a little bit about yourself, where you're from, your family, and what you do for a living.
So, hi everyone. As I said, I'm Rachel. My husband's name is Kevin, and we have two children, Layla, who is 9 years old, and Cameron, who is 6 years old. They would want me to say today is the last day of school. Yay.
Yes.
Um, we are originally from New York. We moved here 4 years ago. Super thankful every single day that we live here amongst the palm trees and sunshine. I am a nurse. I've always been a nurse, went straight to nursing school from high school. And currently I work as a nurse leader at one of the assisted living facilities here in one of the senior living communities in Naples. And it's awesome.
I am so thankful for what you do. My mom's mom, my Nana, she's in an assisted living facility back in Oklahoma. And the nurses there are just great. They just care for her so well, make her feel seen and valued every single day, and care for all of her medical needs. And so what you do is a blessing, not just to the people, but to the families that love those people. So thank you so much for what you do.
I love it. No, absolutely. And it's especially here in Naples, so many people don't have a lot of family here. So it is very cool to be the
Yeah,
eyes and ears for the family. So
absolutely. That's awesome. So Rachel, tell us a little bit about your faith background. So we all have, like, I try not to act like, the gathering or me coming into someone's life is the first interaction they're having with Jesus or the church or faith, or the biggest questions that we have as humans. So we all have had a journey with God and with faith. So how did you grow up? What's your faith background? Did you go to church? What did that look like?
yeah, so I actually grew up in a Jewish family. I was brought up Jewish. I went to Jewish day school. We did go to temple or synagogue mainly on the holidays, not really like on a regular weekly basis. So my grandparents are Israeli. I speak Hebrew. Definitely grew up learning a lot about the Torah, as we call it, the Bible, and had a lot of knowledge. Um, but what I would say is the way that we practiced our religion was very much so we do these things because we do these things. We
Mhm.
do these traditions because we do these traditions. Um, to be quite honest, there really was never any discussion about a relationship with God and do we even believe in God, which is kind of mind blowing now that I look back on it. I don't even think I ever really thought about it, even though I had so much knowledge about the religion and we followed all the rules. It just was kind of like, you do that because you do that. And if you don't, then like you need to feel guilty because you didn't.
Mhm.
So definitely very knowledge based, but not very relationship with God based and faith based, I would say.
It's so interesting to hear you kind of describe that because growing up where I grew up, we did not have a large Jewish community. And so, moving here, meeting having so many more friends, that's part of their background. That's how they grew up. And some of my friends still, that's part of their faith right now and
Mhm.
their religion right now. But when you describe that, I feel like you can plug and play the word I grew up Jewish with, I grew up Catholic, I grew up
Yep.
even in evangelical church, I grew up whatever religion or denomination. That kind of going through the motions, like this is what we do, and it's just what we do, and there's not really a relationship with God, is something that is such a default um, mode that I think a lot of us fall into and drift into if we're not careful. I just feel like I've heard that story
Yep.
um, in so many different other areas besides just a Jewish family or a Jewish religion.
Yeah.
So it's really interesting.
You one of the first services I came to, you had spoken about legalism.
Hmm.
And I remember texting you after and being like, I think you were talking directly to me. I don't know if you intentionally did that side, but you did it. And
Yeah.
it really spoke so much to my religious, the way I grew up in religion.
And I think it's interesting the New Testament talks so much, and the Old Testament. I mean, the whole Bible talks against legalism so much throughout it, and yet I feel like it's something that the reason why is because all of us humans are always going to struggle with it.
Yep.
We're always going to create a new legalistic system, in lieu of a relationship with God, and we do this in like marriage and relationships too. It's like, hey, I'm doing all the things, I'm dotting all the I's, I'm dropping all, what is it? Dotting all,
Crossing
what's
all
the
the T's.
crossing all the T's. My head just had but we do that even with relationships with each other,
Yep.
and it's like, no, hey, how are you pursuing a relationship with that person? It's not just, that list of whatever it is. So we also do it with God too. It's so interesting. So as you grew up Jewish, you moved to Naples.
Yep.
Help me understand, kind of, when you moved to Naples, you weren't actively going to synagogue with your family or church, but something started
Yep.
this desire. Like, what was God doing to prepare you to begin following him, going to church, and then ultimately this decision to get baptized?
Yeah. Yeah. Um, so Kevin and I got married, and obviously we knew going into our marriage we were different religions. He grew up Catholic, I grew up Jewish. Where we were at when we first got married, we both were not necessarily practicing our specific religions. I think we always knew inside of us that we we had a desire to have a relationship with God, but we just did not necessarily in those times in our life have that. Um, and we knew at some point we were going to have kids and we were going to be faced with kind of like, how do we want to handle this with our children, So we moved to Naples, and we didn't have family here. We didn't know anyone here. And as our children start to get just a little bit older, we just started to feel a little bit more of, we need to make sure that they have a religious foundation too. Now, even though we were not individually practicing religion, we both do feel that we were provided with a religious foundation. And
Mm.
we felt like that was really important for our children too. But we also knew that we wanted it to be a little different for them. And we knew that although we were not quite there yet as adults, we wanted our children to have like this kind of this entity, this, a God, someone that they can turn to. And so we were trying to think of like, how can we do that? And how can we do that in a way that's really going to help our children form that connection? So Kevin's family is extremely prevalent in our life. They are like every day, very present in our children's lives. And so we felt like the decision to start going to church was good for our children because we thought that it would be helpful for them to form a connection with a religion that was similar to the family that they are so close to. So really, we started going to church for the kids. And when we went, listen, I'm going to be honest. The first few services I went to for church, I was like, I feel awkward. I think everyone can tell I'm awkward. I think that there's like a flashing light on me, like this girl does not belong. Everyone can see it. It was definitely weird in the beginning,
Yeah.
but we kept going.
Mm-hmm.
And then I started to notice I was singing some of the worship songs.
Mm-hmm.
Then I started to notice I was leaving Sundays feeling like thinking about things more, wanting to explore like the scripture more, wanting to talk about it more. I just started to feel something changing inside of me. And it was like maybe I needed to become a mom first to head in this journey, because we started this off really for the children, right? And in doing so, it led me down this whole journey for myself that I never would have thought I would have been headed down. And I guess maybe that's just how God knew it needed to look for me. Like I needed to get married to someone who was a different, like all the things needed to happen for me to get to the place that I'm at now. And I'm so thankful for all of that, because I don't think I would have known to pave this path for myself.
Yeah, there's so much there that's so beautiful. I mean, like that motivation to change something about your life for your kids is a holy motivation, and it's and sometimes people are like they question, like, is that the right reason to go to church? Hey, if like you have kids and you're like, hey, I'm not healthy physically. Like I want to see my grandkids, and I know that at this rate, the way I'm eating and the way I'm living that's not going to happen. So I'm going to change something about me for them. Like that's a great motivation to get physically fit, right? It's for your kids and for your grandkids. This is the same thing. It's like, hey, spiritual health is like a huge. I would say it's the core of what a flourishing, made for more life looks like. And so to have that desire, hey, here's my kids. I need to start pursuing this more. I think there's a really, really holy desire. And a lot of people, after they have kids, start to make that decision, right? They start to draw back to church. If they grew up in church, left for a bit, have kids, like, hey, I need to get back into some of my roots. I think that's really, really beautiful. The other thing I want to mention that you said is when you walk in, you feel like a imposter syndrome,
Oh,
right?
totally. I was total imposter syndrome, especially when I started singing. I was like, Kevin, do you think people know?
I think that's so good to identify, right? Is like, hey, this is going to be, especially if you're new to church or you're like you grew up Jewish and you're now coming to a Christian church. That's about Jesus, as the Messiah. It's like this
Yeah.
feels like I'm an imposter, and I
Yep.
think that's okay, because that's where you're at then.
Yep.
And just like anything that you start that's new, it's like I felt like an imposter the first day of my freshman year of high school.
Yeah. So true.
You still feel like an eighth grader. You feel like an imposter after you get married, after the hospital lets you go home with that baby for the first time, and you're like,
What do we do?
is this legal? Like, like who's trusting us with this? So I think imposter syndrome it is always that first step outside of your comfort zone, right? Is this feeling of like I'm a fake and a phony and everybody knows it. And the reality is no one knows it. No one thinks that. And don't allow that voice. I'm just speaking to whoever's listening right now, of the enemy to keep you from growth. Growth always happens outside of your comfort zone, in the discomfort zone. So don't let your enemy, that voice, whatever it is, keep you from the growth that happens in that spot. Which I love that. It's so good.
Yeah. There's a quote like, what is it? Feel comfortable in the uncomfortable, or something like that. And I'm like, oh,
That's
good one.
it
But
is.
that's actually something that drew Kevin and I so much to the gathering, is because you guys do create this environment where just come as you are, and be in that moment. And, no one is trying to push you out of that moment, and just be how you are. And that's how you're welcomed. And that's how you guys want us to come, and that type of approachable environment, I think, is what really drew Kevin and I to coming to your guys' church. I mean, it's also helpful that you and Monica are pretty awesome. So
Yeah, well, yeah, she's pretty great, and I ride on her coattails. So why did you choose? So God's preparing you. You have kids, have this in your heart, like, hey, I need to do this for them. You're starting to sing along. You're starting to feel something, having a yearning for more. Talk me through your journey of like, okay, now let's go to the gathering. I want to start following Jesus and get in a home group. And then like, I think I want to get baptized and give my life, make Jesus as the Lord and Savior of my life. So tell me a little bit about that what led you through that journey.
Yeah. So, yep. So we started going to the gathering, and that's when I think really things really took off for me. The seeds were planted for me, and then when we started coming to the gathering, just being able to be so closely involved with the church really helped me grow in my faith. So I started to volunteer on Sundays, and then started to be in a home group. And the home group is really where I was like, "Whoa, I was craving to learn more." I just love talking about the scripture and love hearing everyone's perspective. And I was like, "Wow, this is changing me. Like, this is changing my perspective." And so I started to think, I think I really want to take that next step of getting baptized. But I think maybe it was kind of that imposter syndrome type stuff that we were talking about that kind of always held me back from some of the previous baptism services that we've had. I thought maybe I needed to be more authentic in my faith first, or that kind of stuff. But um, you had spoken about baptism, about how it's not like the final destination. It's kind of that beginning of your journey. And I think that I had that twisted in my head. And after hearing you talk more about that, I thought, oh, well, wait a minute. Then maybe this is the right time for me to do that. I also had like some things going on in my life that were challenging for me, just kind of emotionally and mentally. And I was seeing that I needed to lean into my relationship with God and Jesus more. And so I think that then when you guys were having that May 3rd service, the timing of it just felt too perfect, with some of the things that I had going on sort of internally. I said, you know what, I think that I need to take literally a physical step in my spiritual journey. And just like that physical act of like, being dunked in the water and coming out, just I felt like I needed that to really symbolize to myself, like, yes, Rachel, like things are moving inside of you. Like, let's do this. So hearing you talk about baptism in that way was really instrumental for me, because I don't think I have yet. Um, and I'm so happy that I made the decision to. It was just the most powerful, impactful moment. It was just really incredible. So I think it just all needed to happen that way.
It's beautiful. I love that. And you got to do it with your husband and with your daughter.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah. It's so
It was
cool.
incredible.
And when you read through the book of Acts and you see the early church, God has a way of bringing families along the same journey together. It's not a universal rule. It doesn't always happen that way, but you do see multiple times where, I'm just thinking of Paul, the Philippian jailer, with Paul and Silas in prison. And this Philippian jailer is getting ready to kill himself. He thinks he has, just ruined everything by these guys escaping, and they reveal that they haven't. And they explain the good news of Jesus to him, that Jesus is the Lord and Savior, that he is risen from the dead, and that your past does not define you, right? Your present shouldn't isolate you, your future will surprise you. He takes them to his house. He shares that message with his family, and then the whole family gets baptized. And that's just one example of multiple times where families come to faith together. And we've seen that, as we've been doing life with people here in Naples. You'll have this journey that one person starts down that leads to another person. And next thing you know, this whole family is coming to faith together, which is so beautiful. It doesn't always happen that way, but man, when it does, it is wonderful to see a husband and a wife and a child all make the same decision together.
Yeah.
And so I love that. One of the things we talk about a lot is this made for more life.
Mhm.
Okay. Jesus says in John 10:10, I have come that you may have life and have it to the full. And that's abundance life. It's overflowing. It's not scraping the bottom of the barrel, barely getting by, but that we believe you are made for more than the life you're striving for or settling for. And so when you follow Jesus, he wants you to have not just eternal life when you die, but full life now, like heaven on earth today. So how in this journey with Jesus and getting baptized and going to church and following him, how has Jesus began to bring about that made for more life in your life? How is your life different because of Jesus?
Yeah, sure. So my life is different. As simple as it sounds, my life is different because I know I'm not alone. I'm unconditionally not alone. And that for me, that's huge because throughout my life, there's been different things that have happened where I have felt very alone. So I'd go to therapy, I'd read self-help books, I do all the things, which all are wonderful things to do, but there still was a void. There was something where I still would feel like I'm isolated on an island alone in this. Even though I have wonderful people around me, there was just something missing. And now I really believe that when I'm alone, I'm not alone. Like I am loved in that moment. I am supported in that moment. And that even if it doesn't feel okay right now, it's going to be okay.
Mm.
So that for me is like huge. Life is not perfect. It's not like I got baptized and now everything is magical and amazing and sunshines and rainbows every day. Listen, I argued with my husband this morning. I got frustrated with my daughter because she took forever to get ready for school this morning. Like, I am not perfect. I am not fixed. I will continue to make mistakes. But you know what? I got my kids to school on time. I said I'm sorry to my husband for arguing. And then I had a moment with God and with Jesus and know that they still love me and I'm going to be okay in the rest of my day. And that is something that I would not have had before. So
Mm.
for me, the made for more life is that life is still going to be life. There's going to be ups and downs, but it means that no matter what, unconditionally, I don't have to ride those waves alone. And that is everything for me. And I am just, it's like overwhelmingly amazing to me that I get to feel that. And I just want other people to also. I'm like, this is so amazing. It took me 37 years to get here. And I want other people to feel this too. So as simple as it sounds, that's what made for more is for me.
Yeah, it's beautiful. I couldn't say any better. Every worldview that exists in the world is trying to answer three base human desires. Is for identity, like who am I? Do I have value? Do I have worth? Like, am I a worthy, valuable being? Number two is who do I belong to? Like, who do I belong with? Who are my people? Like, am I one of them? Do they accept me? Do they value me? Do they love me as I am, or do I got to hide, or I got to have a projection of me? And then the third one is why am I here? Like, what's my purpose? What's my purpose in life? Why do I exist? Do I have something I'm living for besides just getting through the next day on the right side of the soil? And so what that heart desire of belonging that you're talking about, of like, hey, I'm not alone. I have a Father in heaven who loves me. I have brothers and sisters in Christ who surround me. It's built into our DNA.
Mm-hmm.
It's in us to want that and desire that and to be a part of a people, and being a part of the family of God is beautiful because you don't
Yeah,
have to earn your way in. It's a gift, right?
it's amazing.
One of the things that this wasn't a question I gave you earlier, so forgive me. But in your journey, just recently, even just like I want to celebrate little small like steps in people's spiritual journey with God, who are brand new to Jesus, brand new to like It's not just a set of rules, it's this relationship. You began dipping your toes into what does it look like to pray,
Yeah.
to
Hmm.
talk with God. And so can you talk a little bit about like prayer was like scary maybe to you before? What do I say? How do I talk? And what has led you to some cool little wins in the recent, in your recent past?
Sure. Yeah. So prayer was interesting for me because from my religious background, in Judaism, prayer was always to me like you're reading from the Siddur, like the book in temple, and you're reading those words, right? And so this idea of praying to God can also be talking to God. That was really different for me. So it took me some time, it definitely took me some time, and I was not doing that in the beginning. And then I would say I'm going to try to do it, and then I was not successful in doing it. And it just took me some time. So but recently I've been, I don't know, something has clicked for me, and I have been having, I know it sounds silly, but like the courage to do it. And so there have been a few things recently that I have started to do with prayer that has felt really good. So there was actually, I feel like the only time I'm ever truly alone is when I'm driving to work and back from work. I don't know if anyone else can relate to that, but I find myself in the car, not even with music on, because I'm like, this is my moment to just have some quiet. So there was one morning I was driving to work, and just all of a sudden I was like, I think I'm going to pray. And I actually, I prayed out loud. Like I just like had a conversation with God, and I just like kind of spoke out the things that I felt like I wanted to be able to conquer that day, or the things that I felt like I just wanted to say thank you to him for being with me as I got through those things in the day. And after, I just kind of sat with it. And then I texted Monica, and I was like, I just prayed out loud. Like that just happened. Um, so that was one thing. And then what I actually also started to do with my children is on our way to school every morning, they each would have their own little things, right? Like Cameron likes to get picked up at a certain time. It makes him a little anxious if he doesn't know we're picking him up at that time. Or Layla would have a big test coming up that she was feeling nervous about. And so I would start the day on the way to school by praying out loud. And I would say, please be with Layla. She goes through this test. Or, you know, give Cameron the peace of mind knowing that mommy or daddy will be there to pick him up on time. Just things like that. And those things started to feel really good. Most recently, also on Mother's Day, I had a pretty big moment of prayer in my little journey here. Mother's Day is a tough time for us in our family. Kevin's mother passed away a few years ago. She was really more of a mother to me than a mother-in-law. Just a wonderful, wonderful person. So it was a tragedy for our family, and it doesn't go away. Like as the kids keep growing, we're like, oh, wish she was here. That feeling doesn't go away. She loved plants, and she loved specifically rose bushes. So on Mother's Day, we just moved into a new home. We decided to have Kevin's father and Kevin's sister over, and we planted in honor of her for Mother's Day. And we after we planted, kind of the kids scattered off, Kevin and his father scattered off, and his sister and I were just there together, interlocked. She was crying. She was really upset. And in that moment of sadness, I felt like I wanted to talk to God. And so I asked Kevin's sister, who is not someone who regularly goes to church, but who I would love to come with us to church sometimes, and I do talk to her about it. I kind of just turned to her and I said, hey, listen, I'm feeling compelled to talk to God in this moment. How do you feel about me doing it out loud with you? And as I said that, I thought to myself, what did I just sign myself up for? Like, what did I just say I was going to do? And she was like, yeah, that sounds good. So I did. And I just kind of spoke whatever flowed out of my mouth. Um, but it just, I don't know, like it didn't take the pain away, but just something about it helped, like I can't really articulate that super specifically. And then later on, she had reached out to me and she said, I just want to let you know that that was really beautiful and that was really helpful to me in that moment. So that felt big for me, and just the fact that, she is someone who does not regularly go to church, but it was able to help her too in that moment, and kind of wherever that seed is planted with her, um, however that, whatever that helped her feel, I just, it just helped change that moment a little bit for us. So that to me really showed the power of prayer for me.
That's beautiful. It's incredible.
Yeah.
Just getting to share that, in your journey with like God is a person that you have a relationship with, right? It's not just some spirit in the clouds that is going to judge you or you wound up the clock of the universe and sat back and is watching from a distance. Revelation, one of the most beautiful pictures of God's care and loving kindness to us, is it says that he will wipe away every tear in our eyes. It doesn't mean that the pain, like you said, the pain's still there.
Yeah.
But there's this Father that sees your pain, and he is close enough to you. If you draw near to him, he will draw near to you. And when he does, he's close enough to you that he can reach up, just like, a dad would to a little child, or to your husband to your wife, or vice versa, and just kind of, let's wipe that tear off, and that's the picture that we get of our Father in heaven. It's
Yeah.
beautiful. Thank you for sharing that.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I think that I am someone who likes to talk things out, and so a lot of times I'll turn to other people to talk things out. And sometimes that's really helpful, but not always, right? Because not every person experiences things the same way.
Yeah.
So it's hard to get sort of what you might personally need from conversations with other people and vice versa, because we all are different. But I find that when I talk to God, I get what I need,
Mm.
Oh, and that's something I never thought that I just never thought that was going to happen for me. So it's very, it's life changing, truly.
Mm.
It's like,
So last question I have for you. There are people that, in our church, or that might listen, not in our church, just listen to this, however they stumble upon it.
yeah,
But people out there who are on both sides of this situation of, there are people who have Jesus, who follow him, that are, part of his church family, that they know they have people who are close to them but far from God.
yeah,
We call them ones, right? Here's our one, my one, these ones that I love and care about deeply, that do not have what I have, right? They do not have this relationship with God that I do. How would you encourage those people that have Jesus to join with God in his mission for the one?
yeah. So I think everyone's different, right? And I think everyone connects with people in a different way, based on our personality. Um, I think that my best way to answer that is just the way that I think feels comfortable to me. And then maybe that will speak to someone else
Yeah.
too. I think that it's important, we don't want to force anything on anyone. We don't want to impose anything on anyone, because that can also deter people. But I think just by being, I think by just kind of getting to know where someone is in their moment, in their life, in their faith, and just meeting them there. Not trying to change where they're at, but just meeting them in that moment and just helping them understand that it's not like you have to go on if anything that I've learned is it doesn't matter where you are on the journey. That's where you are. And like God loves us no matter where we are in our journey. So I think just meeting people where they are. And then I also think I I think being vulnerable and sharing our own experiences, because you just kind of never know who it can speak to and who it can plant that seed for.
Mhm.
You know, everything I said today, there could be people out there who it's not relevant to them, and not in a bad way, but just like it doesn't speak to them.
Yeah.
But there could be some people, or even just one person, who maybe I said something and like it resonated with them. And that's what happens to me. People say things and it resonates with me. And so I think that that's kind of, I think that's important to do, just kind of our authentic selves, share our experiences, be vulnerable, because our vulnerability could really change someone else's moment.
Yeah. That's so good. Yeah. Just be vulnerable and be patient and be present.
Yeah.
That's so good. What about your encouragement for those who would be considered ones, those that, like you several years ago, didn't have a relationship with God? You weren't going to church, you weren't following Jesus, you hadn't got baptized. How would you encourage them in their faith journey?
Yeah. I would really just encourage them to, even if it feels scary or uncomfortable, been there, just take that leap. Even if it means coming to church and sitting in the back row and not speaking to anyone the first time you come, just in and out. Because maybe the next time you'll stay till like the end, or maybe you'll speak to one person. I think just taking that leap, just kind of letting, what is it, like let go and let God, just kind of let go and just allow yourself to check it out. It doesn't mean that you're committing to it. It doesn't mean that you have to feel like that same day your life is going to be different and you're going to feel different. Just take that chance to just give it a chance. Like I think that would be my encouragement, really. Just give it a try. And even if you decide to give it a try and then not do anything with it, but then revisit it 6 months later, hey, that's okay too. And I think that that's what I've learned so much in being a part of the gathering is it's all okay. Like however it looks for us, it's all okay. And so I think that even though it sounds small, just give it a try. It doesn't mean that you have to throw yourself in full throttle. Just see what it does.
It's so good. I always go back to John chapter 1, the first invitation Jesus gives to anyone is just come and see.
Yeah.
Come and see. Come check it out.
Yeah.
Well, Rachel, thank you so much for your time. Thank you for your vulnerability, for bringing the authentic you to this conversation, and for sharing your heart about what God has done and how he's moved in your life. And thank you. Everybody else out there, thank you so much for listening, for tuning in, for following along. You can do that on Apple, Spotify, or YouTube. And remember, as always, that you are made for more. So don't settle for anything less.